What's going on, guys? Big Mike, the 717 Outlaw, back with you here today. Working again on the Busas. This time I am definitely saying Busas because we have to swap again. So what we're going to be swapping this time, not exactly the way that it's probably preferred to do, but Pinky is up on the ATV lift, which still works because I'm able to pick up kind of the motor as a whole, but we have the front wheel off. Front wheel's off on that, as well as the right now kind of rigged up turbo bike. So what we got to do here is I went to go swap the front wheels the other day and just wanted to kind of test fit. I was going to polish the wheel and then do the video once the wheel was polished. Well, lo and behold, I found out that that swap doesn't work. You can't put a Gen 1 wheel on a Gen 2 or vice versa unless if you have two complete head assemblies, you can swap the forks out. Forks are the same diameter. The big reason too I'm taking advantage of this is because the pink bike has cut forks. So the front end of the bike will be a lot lower without doing a strap kit. But the strap kit that is on the turbo bike is going to go on the pink bike, and cut forks are going on my bike. So it's going to be a pretty good conversion. It's going to be kind of worth the time because I get to get cut forks without actually having to send them out and get cut forks. I'll already have them done. And the bike will have kind of its first real suspension mod because the rear shock is still stock. So we're going to go ahead, jump into this. I know this setup here isn't exactly what you would do by using a ladder and some ratchet straps, but I've done it before on a bike. It's worked, not preferred, but this will have to work for now until I can get a crane hoist or something in the shop. So that way we can do this a little bit more professionally. So let's get into it. All right, guys, dropping the forks. Go ahead and loosen up your triple tree clamps. And then on the top, to protect your adjustment knobs for your compression, go ahead and use a socket, put it over top, tap them out with a mallet or a dead blow. Well, a little persuasion. We did manage to pull the forks out. So the Gen 2 forks, ooh, come on, focus. Gen 2 forks are right here. I'm gonna go ahead and pop these cut forks, and you can kind of tell that they're cut because this gap from the base to the bottom of the shock versus those, it's probably about twice the length. So yeah, should get us pretty low. I'm not too sure on recessing the or like pushing the forks up through the triple tree clamp that hard on that bike, because I'm pretty sure that my bike's heavier than this one. So I'll probably put it at stock height and just kind of run it as is. But let's go ahead and get these forks off and get them on that bike. All right, guys, pretty easy. Pretty much the same thing here on the Gen 1. One little thing you want to do, you can kind of see me do it here in a second, is use something to protect the end of the fork from smacking off the ground. But pretty much the same idea. I used a Brillo pad and a little bit of brake clean to clean up the clamp. That way the surfaces were both clean and ready to go. And yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Drop one out, put in the other one, and then just swap them out like that, and then get the Gen 1 forks ready to go in the Gen 2. All right, guys, well, after a quick bath, new forks cleaned up nice, so we're gonna go ahead and get these installed. Should be interesting. I'm curious to see how low the bike's gonna sit. The only thing I might have to do is I'm pretty sure that fender is gonna end up going back on the bike unless the carbon one fits. But as you can tell, it was rubbing on a radiator. So I might try to do an aero fender, which is just kind of the front half. I guess it's what Mickey has. So how it's about half a fender. Might end up going for a fender like that, just so that way I can get a little bit more ground clearance or at least tire clearance off that. But let's go ahead and get these forks on. Next thing is going to be pulling off the calipers. So we're going to swap this caliper over onto the other bike and then kind of call it a day. Gen 1 onto the Gen 2 went pretty easy. Just make sure your clamps are nice and opened up and loose. That way forks go in just a little bit easier, but get them in and they'll be ready for the axles and the wheel. All right, guys, well, we got the forks on. I think I'm just going to go ahead and try and get the wheel on and the brakes. Well, okay, maybe I'll do the brakes and the wheels at the same time on both. That way I know everything's good. I probably won't worry so much on bleeding the brakes per se for now, but at least getting them on, and yeah, we should be good. Well, got the brake mounted up. Looks like we can go ahead and get the R1 wheel on the pink bike, which I have to admit, I think it's gonna look pretty cool. I might try to sneak the carbon fender on here beforehand because I think it's gonna be hard to do with this on, but bike doesn't look too bad with gold forks. But I also think that the pink with the black wheel doesn't look bad either. But we have this bike here mounted up. We got the OEM brake. Had to do a little bit of cleanup on that. Not exactly pretty in person, but it'll do the job. So we can go ahead, test fit our front wheel, and I think we'll be good. I am going to polish that before I completely install it because it's not as clean as the rear, but we can get the front tire back on. All right, finishing this up with getting the wheel ready. So go ahead and put on our front fender. Now, don't exactly do what I do. I know with this R1 wheel conversion, it ended up being a bit easier, but take the caliper off. That way the wheel can actually line up with the axle and everything like that. Once you get that in, go ahead and get your axle through, get your caliper on, and then make sure everything's centered up so that way your brake isn't dragging or anything like that. And then once that is all good to go ahead and tighten up your axle clamps and you're good to go. So after a lot of tweaking to get it on, we have the R1 front wheel, our Busa carbon fender, our forks are in. All I have to do is just go ahead and tighten up the triple tree. But I don't think this bike looks too bad set up like that. I mean, the black with the pink actually doesn't look that bad, so we'll go ahead and keep tinkering a little bit. The only thing I might have an issue with is now that it's at a higher ride height, I don't think that that stubby little kickstand is going to be working very good, so I might have to put my OEM kickstand on that before I take it off the stand. But yeah, once I get these forks tightened up, drop the ATV lift out from underneath it, and she's sitting pretty on a new wheelbase. All right, guys, on to the Gen 2. Now, getting these wheels on actually was this wheel was a lot easier. Pretty much just put the axle in, the caliper and everything can stay on. Everything lined up. Just took a couple fine tweaks to make sure that the brake and stuff wasn't dragging. Everything was pretty well centered. And then, yeah, tightened up the bottom clamps and got the wheel on, axle good. Guys, well, after some freaking blood, sweat, and tears going into that job because they got a little complicated and just a little fine tweaking. I still got to bleed the brakes and stuff yet, but the turbo bike is sitting on cut forks and the new RC wheels. I do have to pull it apart yet and polish it. I'm not going to worry about that tonight. It's like almost 10 o'clock at night, and I got work in the morning. But she's sitting on her new wheels, and I think this bike's going to do really, really good this year. I'm super psyched to get out to the track. Now, the other part, too, is the pink bike is almost ready. I do have to order a sprocket cover for a Gen 1 with the slave cylinder, so that way I can start running a hand clutch again, have to re-bleed everything. The other thing that I have to do yet for the turbo bike is Mickey's bike is set up to where the clutch is the rear brake. I'm going to go ahead and move, or not necessarily move, but I need to order a brake line that can run from the clutch lever all the way to the rear brake. I know Schnitz does custom. Core Moto, I think, does custom brake lines. So I'm going to look into them and see if I can get a brake line done pretty quick. I do have to try to figure out measurements, which might be a pain, especially for how long it's going to have to be. But I'm stoked, guys. The bike is so much closer to being done. It's It's just down to the fine tweaks. Got to get the ride back device mounted up. I'm still trying to make a bracket for it. I made a couple, haven't really looked or worked as good as I hoped. And we just have to get the, what is it? The two-step button. I did get a PMR, what is it? Just a PMR switch that's right by my turn signal, or my horn, which is actually what runs my air shifter. So we're close on that. I did go ahead and put fresh plugs in it the other day, fresh set of NGK 2360s. And yeah, we are so much closer to being done, guys. April 1st, Beaver Springs is their opening day. We will be up there. We will be testing. I'm not sure if Mickey will be testing. I don't think he will have the time to get his clutch plates and stuff ready, because his has a really weird stack height with his MTC slider. So he's just having a little bit of a hard time getting the clutch and stuff together. I have a clutch pack that should be set up, or I should have a clutch pack ready that can go in this just in case we do burn it up. But we're pretty much ready to go on the clutch. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to let it run how the bike came to me. If it's too slow on the 60-foot, or who knows, it might be too fast on the 60-foot, we'll see what happens there, and we'll tune it on our first day up. But for right now, guys, thank you for watching. I know some of these videos here lately haven't been much talking, really. It's a lot of time lapse, but I don't want to bore you guys with a 30-minute video of me trying to do this stuff in real time. Doing a time lapse, get through it quick and easy. I can shorten them up if I have to. But thanks again for watching the videos. As always, guys, hit that like button, drop a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that little bell for notifications on the newest videos and notifications that'll be coming out. And as always, guys, ride safe, ride smart, always wear a helmet. See ya.